Blessed full moon in Pisces. Hello, everyone. I am Carla Sanders, the Cosmic Crone, and I bring you today a brief assessment of what's going on during the lunar eclipse in Pisces. It's a watery time. And I'm kind of excited because in Maine, where I live, we've had a drought and the air is full of moisture. We are expecting thunderstorms and a day of rain tomorrow. So I am saying at this lunar eclipse, bring on the rain, bring on the water. It's a fascinating chart. I have it here on my computer because it's not, I left my printed copy over at the house. I'm in the studio, so I'll glance down to remind myself of what's going on. And what I see, first off, it was a little challenging to hear the reading for all of you because this chart touches so many of my natal points, my natal my sun, my moon, my rising, my Jupiter, and my Ixion. So it was hard to kind of set that aside for a separate thing and say, what is this speaking to all of us about? And then I can go and look at what I'm supposed to be doing about it for my own life, my own inner work, and my own mission. And one of the things that I am supposed to be doing right now is talking to you about what the dark goddess is communicating through this full moon eclipse. Now, we are just over 21 hours away from the actual eclipse tomorrow afternoon. Where I live, it will be Sunday afternoon. The sun will be in the sky behind clouds possibly. The moon will be on the other side of the world. People on the other side of the world from me, from North America, Europe, parts of Africa, most of China, India, anything above the equator pretty much is going to see this eclipse if you have clear skies. So if you're listening to me, tomorrow night, go out and look. It will be amazing. We saw one back in March 2025, so I've had my total lunar eclipse for the year. I'm good. So it is incredibly special when we can actually let the light of what's happening in the zodiac land through the orifices or the diaphragms of our eyeballs into our nervous system and into our bodies. Those of us who can't see it with our eyes, open up your pores. The energy field, it is here. It is wet. It is feminine, and it is fierce. The dark goddess figures hugely in this chart. So, a quick rundown. The moon is at 15:23. Pisces, the sun is in Virgo. Virgo, the sign of the priestess. The sun is in an earth sign, but it is illuminating priestess energy, the goddess. And the moon is in Pisces, and the moon loves Pisces. The moon works with the ocean, the tides. It causes the tides. The tidal waters depend upon the moon for life. The moon brings fertility. It represents the womb of life, that is the oceans. It is the ruling planet of Cancer. And so feel that womb moon dropping deep into the waters of yourself. Emotions, intuition, unconscious, deep knowing, knowing things that you do not know that you know, and allowing them to communicate. And that's what this chart does to me in many ways. I'm looking at the poetry of it, the metaphor of it. The fact that the moon is in Pisces is digging deep into those things that we feel, we perceive in our other than intellectual capacity. We have to bring it up through our bodies and translate it, which is why I'm having a little trouble talking about it, to completely engage my mind. So I will use Mercury, which is also in Virgo, happens to be transiting my natal moon in Virgo. So I'm going to ask Mercury right now to help me communicate with you. Bring me precision of language and clarity for these incredibly deep spiritual, mystical qualities that are also difficult, because the dark goddess is pointing out something that can be very hard for us. And I'm giving you a trigger warning now. This full moon with an eclipse in the dark, it is speaking to the things going on in the world right now. The oppression of women, the abuse of children, the silencing of voices that are not cis white male, the perpetrators doing everything they can to the point of bringing the world to the brink of disaster to avoid facing up to what they have done. So I'm going to just leave that right there. You read the headlines, you know what's going on. And the reason this chart is activating that in such a profound way, there is a grand water trine. That means there is flowing energy that is creating a watery vortex between some powerful points. Nessus and the North Node. Nessus in Pisces. Nessus is the planet, the point that represents abuse, often sexual abuse, incest, rape, and the abuse of substances, and also represents how that runs through the lineage, ancestral, how whether or not it's happening in your own lifetime right now or has happened, we all have it in our history, alas, but this is a fact. And so the results, the impact of that gets passed down through the DNA, through the family stories, the ways that people coped with the trauma, and we are left holding the bag. And Melanie Reinhardt, who writes extensively about Nessus and the other centaurs in astrology, says the buck stops here, because what Nessus represents is all of that energy that we would love to bury, but we cannot, we must not, because it comes into our world at this time for us to clear it. It is time to open our eyes and look it full in the face and say, no more. It stops here. And so Nessus right now is connected to the North Node and connected to this full moon in eclipse in Pisces, and saying, what are you going to do about it? It is in your face. It is in the headlines. It will not go away. Women are standing up and saying what was done to them as children, They are being incredibly courageous. They are putting themselves in danger. And this is happening all over the world. We're seeing this particular focal point now, and it's no accident. So that is where the full moon is, in the deep place. And we have to be willing to go into the deep place to fully excavate and allow it to bubble up. This is a bubbling water. Okay. These points, the moon, the north node, Nessus, are flowing towards Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter expands everything. And Jupiter brings good energy. He's usually considered, in most of his expressions, we see him as good luck, good fortune, abundance, but also expansion. So the lens, we're looking at a wide angle lens now. We're seeing things clearly. We're seeing things in the wings. We're seeing far back and far forward. We're seeing more, and we are empowered more to work with what we're seeing. We cannot unknow what we know. And the people who know and are trying to hide or distract cannot hide and distract, because Jupiter will not let them. And then, to complete this vortex of water in Scorpio, the things we don't talk about: sex, wealth, death. And we are seeing sex, wealth, and death in its toxic brew. It is life-giving, cyclic energy, magic, and mystery. When it is understood and embodied and properly initiated and honored as sacred. But what we are experiencing in this world for a very long time we have, and what is in our headlines now, is the toxic blend that says, don't talk about it, keep it a secret. You can't tell. It's dangerous. And we have had, for a big part of this year, about 4 goddesses in Scorpio. And they are all now in the second half of Scorpio, meaning they are connecting to the moon and the sun energy and the Jupiter energy that I've just described. So their names are in the perfect trine. Hecate, she is the keeper of the portal. She will guide us into the underworld to do the work and bring us back. She stands at a crossroads, which is really any point where the past needs to die and the new life needs to be born. The points of decision. We are there. We are there as a society. We are there as individuals. What choice will we make? How will we stand with this? Black Moon Lilith. She is the goddess before patriarchy. When we tap into her dark energy, we feel the void of creation. We feel that energy of emptiness that is so pregnant with everything coming through that portal of Black Moon Lilith, the feminine, the womb, and coming into form. And so she stands with us saying, I am here to hold you. I will take this pain, this suffering, this truth, this darkness, and make something beautiful and alive. We can work with her on that. Juno is there. Juno is there at 23 and change, Scorpio. I've just had a Juno return. Juno has been figuring really strongly in my personal chart. Juno is the queen of heaven. She is Jupiter's wife. The queen, and they have a big story of abuse and silencing and so many of the negative aspects of relationship that is run afoul. It is the opposite of sacred union, but they reach because of Juno knowing herself, coming to her center and standing for what she stands for, which is the righteousness for women and children. What is good for women and children, mothers and children, those who have been abused and betrayed by the very people who are supposed to protect and love them. Juno stands for them because that's what she experienced with Jupiter. She came back to her center and they were able to reignite the sacred marriage, the union of masculine and feminine. So Juno really brings this into daily life and society as a norm, as a way of, when we look at Juno, we can see what really matters. We can see the leading force of our society is nurturing the young. And then in her final moments, well, she's got a few more days, but Vesta is also has been going through Scorpio. She's at 27 and change right now, and she is directly opposite Algol, the demonized goddess, the dark goddess who stands and represents the sheer force of rage, of darkness, of energy, the divine feminine energy that is surging back into primacy, taking her place, bringing balance. And she comes as a destroyer. There are many goddesses in both current and ancient mythologies around the energy that is represented by Algol, the Lilith star, this demonized goddess. And we learn to be afraid of them, but we also recognize that the goddess was never a demon. That's a story that was told, a lie. And she does also represent all of these things. She is both the nurturing mother, and she's this one behind me who wields the snake and dances on the bones and goes into the darkness. This is a dark Lilith behind me. And what else do we have? I really want to, the third Lilith in the chart, when I do Dark Goddess Astrology sessions, we go through all of these Liliths in your chart. What are they telling you? How are they supporting you? Where are they pointing out your paths through the various portals of your life into the healing, into the integration and wholeness? And Lilith there is square. Lilith asteroid represents the disowned feminine within, how we have been repressed by patriarchy and taken on that job ourselves. Those, especially those of us born female, but everybody has a Lilith, male and female. And it is this right relationship with the feminine that has been abused, suppressed, oppressed, so that we hide, we become handmaidens of the patriarchy or warriors subject to the patriarchy, and the divine feminine is crushed under our feet, under the weight of our own shame, because that is what we were taught. And once again, that is not what is true. That is how we are experiencing it, and it feels like a battle and a fight sometimes. But the moment you turn and you say, I see you, I feel you, I accept you, then boom, she's here. She shines forth. And she is in a challenging relationship to all these goddesses right now. The goddesses in Scorpio. And it feels to me that may be because of the triggers. The ferocity that is coming forth because of what we're seeing in our world, and that yet there is fear, there is some resistance, there is rage. That sometimes rage drags out this sense of impotence of what good is it? I'm feeling this, I feel this impotent rage. There are things going on. What can I do? Well, we can join the women and girls that you might have been seeing on social media and in various other articles and scream. Tomorrow, this weekend, as we are in this full moon window, go into a ceremony and scream. Let it out, because there is an energy with this inner Lilith that is connected to Mars. Mars is fierce, masculine energy. It is the sword, the spear, the tip of the arrow. It is directed and focused, and it is fire, and it will get things done. And Mars represents, in his highest form, and especially in Libra, where he's hanging out right now, he represents the masculine as it is meant to be, in service to the feminine, in right relationship with the feminine, not repressing, oppressing, or conquest of the feminine or of the earth or of other people, but in defense and in protection, and also going and getting what is needed. So what do we need as human beings right now? We need champions. We need the energy within ourselves to be our own champion. We need the resources to champion ourselves. And we do not do this alone. We do it together. And I'm going to, what all this reminds me of is a moment. A couple of weeks ago, I was deeply privileged to attend the global gathering of matriarchs that Sherry Mitchell puts on at her land up in Monroe. The landpeacefoundation.org is her, if you want to know more about that. And Sharon Blackie was one of the speakers, the keynote speaker, and she came to us via Zoom from her home in the UK. And she spoke to us about the women of the wells. And the women of the wells kept the waters. They kept the right relationship with the earth. And so here, with all of this water, this bubbling, swirling water, we have a living well of energy at this full moon. And it is kept by these handmaidens of the goddess, the women of the wells. And they would, when a traveler would come to the well, they would give them water and food and nourishment and send them on their way. And they were a part of this complete system whereby the feminine chose the king. She represented the land. I'm oversimplifying it, but she represented the land and chose the king who would respect the land and be a good steward of the land and the people. and all of the relations upon it. So what happened is the king of the land at that time, at the time of this story, the woman comes out and gives him water and gives him food, and he says, I'm going to take what I want, and he rapes her. And he carries her away to serve him in his castle. And when the other men, the noblemen, saw the king do that, they went to all the wells and they did the same thing. They raped the women of the wells, kidnapped them, took them away. And so anyone who was not caught up in this travesty, this crime, they went into hiding. And so the women no longer fed the people from the wells. They no longer tended the wells. And this is called the beginning of the wasteland. This is how the beautiful, abundant earth we live on became a wasteland because of the abuse of the kings, the ones in power, the ones who defied and ignored the sacred trust. They betrayed the sacred trust. So there's more to come about that. We are together speaking up, helping these maidens, these women of the wells, find their voices again. And this full moon tells us to dig deep and find it. I will be in ceremony tomorrow with members of my community. And I will be touching this energy at the time of the full moon. And I may be wailing. I may be screaming. If ever there was a full moon to howl, this is the one, and this is the time. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a blessed full moon. Aho.